So after all the hashtag movements and drama surrounding Glassdoor and all the problems that kind of came with that, a bunch of us decided that in May and June we are going to go on a Starcoin strike to try and bring SSO's attention to some issues in their game. This movement became kind of our last option, seeing as no matter how we contact SSO, we always seem to be getting the same cookie cutter responses, and this is kind of the only way that we can see to really reach them. Now, this movement has brought some backlash from players who seem to be under the impression that should we not buy Starcoins for a month, then it would mean the company would simply shut down and we would lose our favorite game. Now, I am here to tell you that this simply won't happen. It's a misconception that a lot of you are carrying, because at the end of the day, it all really comes down to the shareholders. And SSO is suffering from an interesting problem. They are currently placing the shareholders' interests above their customers, and this will eventually kill the company. But let me show you what the problem is, don't take my word for it. SSO is a multi-million-dollar company, and as such people can buy and sell shares or stocks in it. For those of you who don't know, a stock or a share is essentially, loosely, kind of buying part of the company and then owning that part of the company, kind of. As the company grows and makes more and more money, your share or stock will begin to rise in value, and so you can resell that stock or share for a profit. Isn't this riveting to listen to? But bear with me, I do have a point with this. This is mostly how a lot of these companies stay in business and how they keep afloat. SSO has been selling shares and stocks since around 2018, as shown in this article, to prospective buyers. Now then, when a company starts to lose money or their profits suddenly dip, these shareholders will begin to ask questions and demand answers. It's their money on the line after all. This might prompt the company to change the business model to ensure they make profit again and to keep their shareholders happy. This dip has to continue for a while for them to take any notice though, but it might prompt a change if it dips low enough. Now, the danger with shareholders is when a company starts to turn their focus on shareholders' happiness and not the customer satisfaction. They essentially start to lose sight on what was their original function. In the case of SSO, it was to bring a magical horse gaming experience to players. This focus has now shifted to bring out horses, because horses bring in money, money makes shareholders happy, and so we are in a vicious cycle, and we're stuck in it. It's much like what happened to Tesco in 2014. Tesco took a big hit when they lost focus on why customers were buying from them, and instead tried to keep their shareholders happy by chasing popular trends. As a result, customers started to lose interest and their shares dropped drastically. I think this blog post says it much better than I could, and try and keep Star Stable Online in mind when listening to this post. I wrote about the bursting of the Tesco bubble in July of 2014. In my blog post, I argue that whilst they publicly claim that no one tries harder for their customers, the reality is that they were trying too hard to please their shareholders. Their obsession with growth led them to taking their eye off the ball of why they really exist and what their customers want. They are now in a situation where the behavior has led to an almost complete erosion of trust with the very consumer that they believed they were working so hard to please. Perhaps the greatest challenge now facing the new CEO, Dave Lewis, is to be able to stand up to shareholders and allow them to understand why the needs of customers and colleagues must be put back ahead of their own. Doesn't all of this kind of sound familiar? And this is something I believe SSO needs to start taking to heart, because they are on the exact same road as Tesco. This company needs to start caring about its consumers again and put the shareholders in their place. They are focusing on making shareholders happy and forgetting that those shareholders bought into their game because their customers initially bought into the game they were making. And as they drift further and further away from what made people play, the game's profit will begin to dip further and further, and they will start to lose money. So what does this mean for SSO? If we don't buy Starcoins, it means the company will have to change the business model and find a sweet spot that will work for both customer and shareholder. At this point in time, we are so drawn in by horses that SSO will never change its business practices, and we will never get to a point where the game is going to grow into its full potential. What is interesting is they started selling in 2018, around the time we got a new owner for Star Stable Entertainment. Coincidence? I think maybe. But still, probably the point where their business module changed and they decided that money was more important than customer satisfaction. A big mistake as proven by Tesco and a lot of other companies who have died because of this practice. But how do we know that SSO doesn't care anymore? Well, by their responses, of course. It has become a bit of a joke at this point. They keep copy-pasting answers from one end to the other, and they pretend like this is somehow the answer to all our problems. But we see that they're just copy-pasted, that they don't care. If they did, they would at least try to fix some of the problems that we're having. But it's easier to ignore us and to just focus on the shareholders, to bring out new horses, to make the game more expensive, and to bring out exclusive gear. These are all ways to ensure that we pay money to play this game, and that's all that they really want. Because hey, we're still buying, so why should they care in any case? Stephanie Casey actually brought this to my attention, how they just keep copy-pasting stuff. A lot of you have done this as well, but she also found one where they actually edited the response after they've posted it. It just shows that they're so focused on coming across as PR friendly that they're not really caring about the consumers, the customers, the people who actually buy the game. Their focus is shareholders, and if the shareholders are unhappy, SSO is unhappy. If the customers are unhappy, SSO couldn't care less. What is even worse is that they copy-paste answers from this document that a lot of people are touting as this wonderful achievement, but it's not. So many people have pointed out that they simply grab quotes from this and shove it at you. I have an email that they do this twice. I respond to the email and they do it again with me. The problem is, this document does not answer your questions. It's nothing answers. Read it carefully. If you want me to go through it, I will, but try and read it with a critical eye. Read the question, read the answer, and then read the question again. It usually wasn't answered. So what should we do? Well, we shouldn't buy star coins. The less we buy, the more impact we will have. And as long as we keep pressure on them, the situation has a possibility of getting better. There's actually a very smart commentator in one of my videos, and I will post his comment here if I still have it. He said that it's much like training a horse. Horses respond to a release of pressure. So the second the horse does something that you want them to do, you release pressure. So at this point in time, SSO is not really doing what we want them to do, so we're going to keep putting on the pressure. Going on with this, I also propose that every Wednesday when they update their game, we post hashtag NoSCMonth alongside all the other hashtags for the entirety of May and June on every Wednesday update. This should bring their attention to the problems, and it will give us all a chance to talk about it. Be sure to state exactly why you're not buying. They need to know what they have to change. Always remember the human, be kind, be considerate, and remember no matter how mean-spirited people can be, they are human and sometimes emotions run high. Believe me, mine has once or twice. For those people who are buying out of spite, to kind of show to us that we are wrong, by all means go for it. But hopefully this video has brought some perspective on the problem with SSO, and maybe you will reconsider, if only to bring Star Stable's attention back to its customers and away from its shareholders. Finally, I'm going to be making a music video for SSO. It will be a kind of please listen to us SSO video, and will be set to the Pink song What About Us, which I think captures all of our grievances quite perfectly. If you want to be part of it, then just send me a screenshot or a short 5-second video of you saying what you would like to see change in the Star Stable game, along with the hashtag, which one you prefer. Just go into the game, write it in chat, and take that screenshot and send it along to me. I am showing an example, but if you want to be more creative, get your guild involved, or perhaps just race along the fields and have the hashtag pop up in the screen, it doesn't matter. Whatever works for you, you do that. Or if you're like me and you haven't uninstalled the game, then just drop me a comment in this video with any of these hashtags and I will add it to the video. You can send your videos and pics to me at ytrattle@gmail.com and I will hopefully have space for all of them. In closing, I would like to say this. I want to see SSO get better. I want them to care again, as much as I care about them. I want them to listen to us and not their shareholders, and I want to see this game reach its full potential. Perhaps with some patience and understanding, and standing together, we might get through to them. Because at the end of the day, if we don't try, we'll never know, and at least we tried.